Imagine being captured by Vikings in the middle of the night. Your kingdom has fallen. Your soldiers are dead. Smoke rises behind you as warriors drag prisoners toward a crowd carrying torches. Then someone whispers two words: Blood Eagle. At first, you do not understand. But according to ancient Norse stories, this execution was designed not just to kill, but to terrify everyone who witnessed it. The victim was allegedly placed face down, their back cut open, their ribs separated from the spine one by one until the body resembled wings stained in blood. For centuries, many historians dismissed the story as fiction, until researchers discovered medieval texts that repeatedly described the same horrifying ritual connected to Viking revenge. So was the blood eagle real? Or was it propaganda created to make Vikings appear even more monstrous than they already were? Tonight, we uncover one of history's darkest mysteries. Before we dive into the main story, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell notification button for more interesting video like this. For centuries, people believed Vikings were among the most feared warriors on Earth. They raided kingdoms, burned villages, crossed oceans in wooden ships that seemed to appear out of nowhere. But hidden inside old Norse legends is something even more terrifying. An execution so brutal, so horrifying, that historians still argue over whether it actually happened. It was called the Blood Eagle. According to medieval accounts, victims were tortured in a ritual that sounded less like history and more like a nightmare. Ribs cut from the spine, lungs pulled outward, the body transformed into the shape of bloody wings. Some historians believe it was real. Others think it was exaggerated myth or misunderstood poetry. But one thing is certain: the legend of the Blood Eagle became one of the darkest symbols of Viking violence ever recorded. And the deeper researchers looked into the story, the more disturbing it became. The story begins during the Viking Age, roughly between 793 AD and 1066 AD. This was a violent era when Norse warriors from Scandinavia launched raids across Europe. They attacked monasteries, kingdoms, and coastal settlements with terrifying speed. To many Europeans, Vikings seemed unstoppable. But Viking culture was not driven only by conquest. It revolved around reputation, revenge, fearlessness in battle. And in Norse society, revenge was sacred. A man who failed to avenge betrayal or murder could lose respect forever. This obsession with vengeance may explain why stories of the Blood Eagle emerged in Viking legends. Because according to medieval sources, the execution was not ordinary punishment. It was reserved for enemies accused of terrible betrayal. One of the most famous accounts involves Ivar the Boneless. Legend says Ivar sought revenge after the death of his father, Ragnar Lothbrok. According to Norse sagas, Ragnar was captured and killed by the Anglo-Saxon King Aella of Northumbria sometime in the 9th century. The stories claim Ivar invaded England to avenge him. And when King Aella was finally captured, the Blood Eagle was performed upon him. The descriptions were horrifying. Ancient texts claimed the victim's ribs were severed from the spine and pulled outward while the lungs were extracted through the back. It sounded impossible, almost inhuman. And that is exactly why historians still debate it today. Modern medical experts have examined whether such an execution could actually be carried out. Technically, some researchers believe it was anatomically possible. But survival during the process would have been extremely unlikely. Most victims would probably die quickly from blood loss, trauma to the lungs. This has led many historians to suspect later storytellers exaggerated the ritual for dramatic effect. Others argue the Blood Eagle may never have existed literally at all. Instead, they believe the stories came from poetic Viking language misunderstood by later writers. Because Norse poetry often used symbolic metaphors. A phrase describing an enemy, marked by an eagle, may originally have referred simply to leaving bodies for scavenger birds after battle. Over time, that symbolic imagery may have evolved into a gruesome execution legend. But not everyone agrees. Some historians point out something disturbing. Multiple medieval sources describe similar rituals independently. And Viking executions could already be brutally theatrical. Public violence in medieval Europe was often designed to send messages. Executions were not only punishment, they were psychological warfare. The blood eagle, whether fully accurate or partially exaggerated, may have represented the ultimate act of terror. A warning meant to destroy enemies emotionally before battle even began. And in that sense, the legend itself became a weapon. The blood eagle survived through centuries because it perfectly captured how the world saw Vikings. Relentless, violent, almost supernatural in brutality. Christian chroniclers who recorded Viking raids often viewed Norse warriors as pagan invaders sent by God as punishment. Stories of horrifying executions reinforced that fear. At the same time, Viking sagas celebrated strength, courage, and revenge. The line between history and mythology became blurred. And somewhere inside those stories, there may still be a real event hidden beneath centuries of exaggeration. Modern historians now believe Vikings were far more complex than their savage reputation suggests. They were not only raiders, they were traders, explorers, shipbuilders, settlers, lawmakers. Some even reached North America centuries before Columbus. But violence remained central to Viking power. Fear was part of their strategy. And whether the blood eagle truly happened or not, people across Europe believed it could happen. That fear alone gave the legend power. The mystery remains unsolved because evidence is limited. No confirmed archaeological discovery has ever proven a blood eagle execution occurred exactly as described. Most accounts were written decades or even centuries after the events themselves. Yet the consistency of the stories keeps the debate alive. Was it real history? Medieval propaganda? Misinterpreted poetry? Or a ritual exaggerated over generations? No one knows for certain. And that uncertainty may be what makes the story so terrifying. Because somewhere between myth and reality, there may once have been an execution so horrifying that even medieval writers struggled to describe it. But the blood eagle was not the only terrifying Viking story historians still debate. Ancient Norse texts also describe berserker warriors who fought in trance-like rage, pagan rituals deep in Scandinavian forests, and lost Viking settlements that vanished mysteriously, meaning some of the darkest secrets of the Viking Age may still remain buried beneath the ice and soil of Northern Europe. And if the blood eagle was ever proven real, it would become one of the most horrifying executions in human history. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel to help us grow. Thank you very much. For more videos like this, click add, like, comment, share, and subscribe.